Payment gateways are the simplest. They simply facilitate a payment transaction between a merchant's website and a bank. But because these days we have so many ways to pay, cards, UPI, net banking, wallets, etc., many payment gateways also aggregate these methods and offer a choice to customers and merchants. Hence, they're payment aggregators. Now, most leading gateways are also aggregators. This includes Razorpay, Cashfree, PayU, Paytm, etc. A quick disclaimer, one of the investors in the Ken is the Paytm founder, Vijay Shekhar Sharma. Now, the most important layer right now and the topic of today's discussion is orchestration or routing. Like a conductor in an orchestra, orchestrators sit above payment gateways and payment aggregators and determine who gets to play. What that means is when a customer is trying to do a transaction on a merchant site, the orchestrator or router assigns it to a particular payment gateway or aggregator depending on various things like where success rates are high, who's offering competitive rates, etc. That's what happens with large organizations like Flipkart, BigBasket, Swiggy, etc. For instance, you must have seen when you're trying to make a transaction on any of those sites, after you enter your card details, you must have seen the Juspay modal or briefly website appear when you're trying to enter your OTP or it's fetching that. That's what Juspay does. We have 3 wonderful guests today. My first guest is Anand Balaji. Anand is the co-founder of Xflow, a company that aims to simplify cross-border payments for businesses. Before Xflow, Anand led the launch and growth of Stripe, the world's most valuable and arguably most innovative payments company in India. My second guest is a returning guest to 2x2, Abhishek Madan. He was last VP of Product at Paytm, where he ran Paytm UPI, and before that he was Head of Product at Paytm's Insider. And my third guest is Vimal Kumar, founder and CEO of Juspay. The news that Razorpay and Cashfree have severe ties with Juspay, right? And we all kind of took it for granted, saying, of course, there's severe ties and stuff like that. And I assumed that's what happens, there's severe ties. But we were discussing, wait, what does that even mean?
Okay, wait, one second. Before we'll get, I think this is instructive. I have a question, and this is mostly for you, Vimal. Why do we need Juspay? Can you help us understand? I'm talking from the perspective of a consumer.
Sure.
I'm someone who opens Swiggy.
Sure.
I know Rohin has explained that, this orchestrator is needed because, there is some voodoo where sometimes payment gateways go down, there are success rates. Why do we need Juspay? I'm just really curious about this. So if we can start there, then I would love to go into whatever Abhishek said on how it actually works.
See, before getting into the tactical details of what's going on right now, and even what is an orchestrator, right? Really speaking, orchestrator evolved organically. Juspay was all about improving the experience of payments, improving the user experience, and really having a higher success rate, and opening up for diversity. So when we started in 2012, second factor authentication was the biggest problem, and card storage was not there. And around the world, any kind of medium size or big companies use technology solutions which are PCI compliant. So
PCI compliance, just for listeners, is this what would you call it? It's like an org. It's like a who runs it, who mandates it.
It is an organization. Card networks come together and
right, and it's a fairly
cards.
strict set of rules and protocols that define how you store data, how you protect data, etc., so that it minimizes the risk of.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. And merchants definitely find it very, very hard to do that, right? And that is something that can be clearly ring-fenced and taken out and is made as a compliant service. Yeah, and a technology product, right? And around the world, any medium-sized or large merchant use multiple processors and they use card vaults. In fact, even last year, Stripe launched their own card vault, and I think Vault and Forward.
Even before.
Yeah.
Stripe had, for the longest time, one of their earliest thing was you can store card information on Stripe.
Right.
Like the whole Stripe.js was basically a way to accept card information on your website, you being the merchant, but the merchant not having access to that card information at all. It's stored directly on Stripe Vault.
Right
now
it's tokenized in the network.
Tokenized meaning, so Stripe would tokenize it. In India, basically, RBI said, no, only the network, which is Visa or MasterCard, can tokenize it. A Juspay or any other processor cannot.
Right. See, one difference, last year, Stripe opened up for other processors.
That is a very interesting one.
See, otherwise, if you use the vault of Stripe, and you can only use Stripe.
Correct.
Versus the market has demanded that Stripe allows any other processor also to use the Stripe
Same
software.
token. Yeah.
Got it.
It starts with token, but it is like all the software on top. It is like really the value-added services on top, right?
Understood. So let's say,
Yeah.
for instance, what you're saying is back in 2012, 2013, 2014, there were a bunch of
2012
merchants.
is when they started.
And they started. I'm saying in those days, you had a bunch of these merchants. These merchants wanted to collect card payments from customers, and they had to obviously store card details at that point in time. That was a big, cumbersome, complicated process. So now Juspay emerges too, and you say that there is a way for you to do this as a service for multiple merchants. Continue.
The second is we really went after second factor authentication.
Okay.
So you would have first known Juspay as this blue logo rotating and automatically reading the OTP and automatically letting you submit or automatically submitting. And we built this thing called payments browser, which is an embedded browser which makes all the bank pages mobile optimized.
Correct.
And that was one of the biggest
Yes, I remember, because Citibank page for the longest time refused to be mobile optimized.
Yeah.
So you'd make a payment and then the Citibank desktop browser would open up in this small mobile window, and then you try to figure out what is it saying, where do I enter?
Yeah. And if you are finding it difficult, look at the scale of India.
By that you mean an old person like me is finding it difficult.
Technology, a person like you versus like people had no clue what's going on, and there were a lot of banks which had 0% success rate. Absolutely, 0% success rate. A pop-up will come, some security, do this, do that kind of pop-up will
Yes,
come.
if you have
in
a pop-up blocker, for instance, it would not come at all.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand. So what you're saying is, that's what you meant by when you said Juspay organically evolved.
Yeah.
What you're saying is that, look, the internet came along, payments came along,
Yeah.
nobody was ready. It was really cumbersome for people to do it. It was extremely fragmented. So you came along and you provided a service,
Right.
both to merchants as well as to banks, to say, come to this new world and we will help you solve some of these things like reading an OTP, collecting payments, making sure that
mobile optimized.
mobile optimization, something that sounds really trivial.
But all of this was to merchants only, right? Like
It's
at
all-
this point,
it's all
it wasn't
software to
banks.
merchants.
Yeah, software to merchants.
it's-
No, but
we
it's
are
also
still-
saying banks, right?
No, the page
No,
is
no,
getting
it-
optimized, but he's working still with the merchant.
the merchant.
So
I understand.
If
It's
you
all
are
with
partnered
merchants.
with him and I am not, you would get an experience, but I won't.
So if the
Understood.
merchant is Juspay, they get the optimized page. If the
Yeah.
merchant doesn't have Juspay, they don't.
Understood.
See, in our second year, we tried hard to work with the banks, but we were too small. We learned it very late that it is very, we were too small to work with the banks, because I thought I can work with the banks and fix all these problems, right?
Okay.
But we had to do a little bit the roundabout way of building something like a plugin inside every phone, and we have to make it reliable and scalable. We have to do updates across hundreds of millions of devices right now. So we are the largest payments SDK in the world right now.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
going to say that.
And
An SDK is, just for our listeners, it's like what a software development kit, right? Isn't that the literal definition of SDK?
Correct.
It's a piece of software that typically apps or sites embed into their. You, as a user, you can't see that, but it kind of like provides some functionality as you are transacting or as you're doing something.
Exactly.
So even
or a
for
micro
example-
app. You can look
Great.
at it
So
as an
if
app
I'm
inside
using
app.
the Swiggy app,
Yeah.
there's probably the Juspay SDK which is embedded within it, even though I don't see it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Got it.
several other SDKs of several other,
Right.
depending on the function.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Continue.
we are also an aggregator of SDKs. In fact.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So because different to manage the versions of the SDKs, what happened after our Juspay Safe product, which makes mobile optimization, second factor authentication optimization, we heavily invested in SDK tech, which is like a Flutter or a React Native technology, which Google, Facebook, big companies build.
Correct.
But none of them were suitable to us because they were very big in size. They are like app development frameworks. But we wanted a micro app development framework, something of the size. Initially, we were like 35 KB SDK,
Got it.
which you can embed inside apps, and you can keep optimizing the payment flows.
I see the
Right.
theme here. So the theme
Yeah.
is essentially you're abstracting away the messy stuff away from merchants and saying,
Right.
rely on us. We are going to be the ones to
Right.
take care of that. Integrate with us. We will take care of all of these things. I understand.
If you'd like to listen to the full episode, you can head over right now to the Ken and become a premium subscriber to catch up on everything else that we've discussed. Your premium subscription will also get you access to all of our long form stories, newsletters, visual stories, and all the other podcasts that we produce. Or if you want to just sample full episodes of 2x2, you can do that by becoming a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts at a really great monthly price. Lastly, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, let us know by rating the podcast on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with another exciting episode.